On today's Chasing the Game, we have Patrick Henry head football coach Bill Inselmann. We talk about him, his storied career with the Patriots after more than 30 seasons leading the team. Chasing the Game starts right now. Welcome into Chasing the Game. Bill Inselmann is here. Bill, thank you so much for coming on and doing this and being able to talk about you, your career. Just how's life? How are things right now?
It could be better if we were still in the playoffs, Chase.
Yeah.
But aside from that, everything's gone really good.
Yeah. You guys, again, had a terrific season in 2025. What was it, like 8-3? You guys were a competitive team in the NWAL again. You guys losing the first round to Cary. Just what did you sort of make of the overall 2025 season?
Well, I think that if you look at the regular season, we had a solid season. Liberty Center, you know, Chase is an incredible football team. I could see them getting in the state championship game for the third year in a row. That was one of our losses, and Archbold was a tough one. We had a 14-point lead at half, ended up losing by 1 point. Archbold obviously still in the playoffs as well. So we had a solid regular season. The playoffs, we had a tough draw that first one. We knew Cary's good. We beat them last year, but they're a tough team, and we didn't play as well as I would like, and they are really hitting their stride and playing well. So all in all, a decent season.
Yeah, you wrapping up what, season 33 for you? Is that right, Patrick Henry?
Yeah, 33 years. When I started, I had a little more hair back then. But yeah, so 33 years, and really proud of that to be at the same school. You don't see that very often anymore in high school sports.
Yeah, why is that? You know, you have been there forever. You know, Rex Lindgren was there forever. You know, what is it about? There was like a certain generation of like coaches who just, they got a job and that was it. You know, they were just kind of there forever, and guys were there for a long time.
Yeah, I think in a way those are maybe days gone by, right? When I first started coaching, Chase, in the NWAL, I'll never forget it. We had our first all-league voters meeting, right, at the end of the season. It was John Downey from Archbold, the legend there, Dave Hansbarger, who's got a stadium named after him in Swanton. Then you had Rex Lindgren. You probably remember Cliff Height. Mm-hmm. He was coaching at Bryan at that point. I think that's just the way it was back then. You know, there was a lot of loyalty, I think, with the coaches to their programs, and communities, administration, loyalty towards their coaches as well. And, you know, you see that in college and high school now. If you don't win, you're out, right? So I think it's just a neat thing. Us older guys, we kind of grew up that way, and a lot of loyalty both ways.
Yeah, I mean, you're a Patrick Henry guy through and through, right? I mean, you grew up in the Patrick Henry community. You went to school there. What was that like growing up in the Patrick Henry, you know, the Hamler kind of community? What was that like growing up there?
It was incredible. Bob Bowerly started football at Patrick Henry. We're actually the youngest school in the NWAL, if you did not know that, Patrick Henry. And the NWAL is the oldest football conference in the state of Ohio. And we're the youngest school to have football, started in 1969. And Bob Bowerly was just... he was a role model for everybody who played for him in the 70s when he started PH football. Incredible motivator, made it fun, and we were one of the few teams that made the playoffs back in the 70s. If you remember this, for any old timers, it was just single A, double A, and triple A. Mm-hmm. If you remember that. Just 4 teams from each A, double A, triple A. 12 teams total in the state of Ohio is all that went to playoffs, and we made that playoffs. And that was just a great experience in my life. And I thought, man, if you can go into teaching and coaching and have this much fun, that's what I want to do. So Bob Bowerly was a big, big motivator for me.
Yeah, and then you were part of that 1977 team, I think, that made the state semifinals. What was that like? You were the quarterback for that team.
Yeah, you know, I was an okay quarterback. I'll be honest with you. We ran a lot of option. I was pretty good with that, but I couldn't throw very well. Yeah. We just had a tremendous class my junior year, and the senior class was smaller, but we fit perfectly together. What we didn't have in our junior class, our senior class did. And again, that was an incredible experience back then to go to the playoffs. I think we were only the second team in the history of the NWAL to get into the playoffs at that point.
Yeah, like you said, it was such an old conference, but, you know, the playoff history wasn't there yet because so few teams made it. And like you said, 3 divisions, and you guys are obviously on the smaller side of that. So it's incredible like how much things have expanded, how much things, you know, there's more rounds, there's more teams getting involved. What do you make of that? You know, it's gone from, there were 16 teams in the region, and now it's back down to 12. Like, what do you make of all that?
Mixed emotions. First of all, you know, teams deserve to get in. I think if you have an 8-2, 9-1, 10-0 record, obviously. So I think it's good, the expanded playoffs. At the same time, I don't think it should be the point where everybody gets in as well. So I like it for college, for high school football playoffs. I think it's a great thing. and I look forward to that.
Yeah, you guys, again, coming off a season, you went 8-3, out in the first round of the playoffs. You guys had this terrific run in the 2000s where when you were a coach, I think it was like 8 straight like NWAL titles. What was that like those years where you guys were, I mean, really one of the most dominant teams in the league and in the area?
Yeah, I'll tell you, I've learned over my years coaching that winning is contagious, just like losing is. And somehow we had good talent, good assistant coaches, and we started winning, and kids just started believing in us coaches, believing in the program. It was an incredible run. We tried and enjoyed as much as we could. I don't know if anything in life you appreciate as much as you should have. And now that we haven't won the league now in 6 years, we look back on that chase, and I wish we would have enjoyed it more. But that was an incredible run. That's the longest winning streak in the NWL for consecutive league championships. It was a tremendous run, great kids to work with in those 8 years.
Yeah, and we talked about Liberty Center, the last, I think, 4 years in a row they've won it now, and we talked about how dominant they've been, and that's still only half of what you guys were able to do. What do you make of the run that they're on now, this 4-year stretch where they've just been, I mean, it feels like world beaters?
Oh, I know. You don't have many close teams in playing with them right now. They're just, Casey Muller's a great coach. And if you know Liberty football is everything at Liberty Center. So there again, they're winning. Those kids come up believing in that program. They know they're going to win. And until somebody knocks them off, they're going to be a tough team to beat. And they're in that rhythm right now.
Yeah, that Archbold team, I think at the end of the regular season, right, they played each other, and that was a close game, and that is about as close as it's gotten the last 4 years, but otherwise they've just been very dominant. When you got out of high school, how quickly did you get into coaching? Were you right away, or how soon did you get into coaching?
Yeah, when I graduated from college, I got a teaching job at Evergreen High School, which was interesting. I started coaching in the NWAL under Dave Teakin. He was a tremendous coach, and my second year, he gave me the opportunity to be the offensive coordinator. And that would have been in 1984. And I don't know what he saw in me, but he gave me a chance. And we had a tremendous year that year. We went 9-1. And I believe that's the only league championship that Evergreen's ever had. And that was with Dave Teakin my second year in 1984. Learned a lot from Dave. And after that then, I went to Napoleon to teach there. And I coached under Lynn Strickle for 2 years, tremendous coach and gentleman, and then Mike Burke for 2 years. So I had the opportunity to be an assistant coach under 3 different head coaches, which I think was valuable. Yeah, there's a lot of people today that don't get that opportunity, but you learn things that you want to do, some things that you don't want to do from every coach, just like I know some of my assistants are learning things eventually from me as they go on, what they want to do and what they don't want to do. So anytime you can get all those different experiences as an assistant, that's tremendous.
Yeah, you mentioned earlier you got that teaching job at Napoleon. What's that like, the fact that, again, another NWAL school historically, where you're teaching at Napoleon during the day and then you're going to coach the Patrick Henry football team, in the afternoon? Yeah,
well, thank goodness Napoleon had gotten out of the NWAL, because I would not have liked to have been teaching at one school and then you got to play them on a Friday night. It was a unique experience. I really loved being a teacher at Napoleon. And then going to Patrick Henry and being a coach. I could be 2 different people, if that makes sense. Really enjoyed it. Probably the negative, didn't get to see my football players on from 8 o'clock in the morning to 3 in the afternoon at PH. Relied very heavily on my coaches to get things, messages to kids and that. And I'd hop over in my car right after Napoleon. And I did that for, 33 years then, teaching Napoleon and coaching at Patrick Henry.
Yeah, and so are you retired now from teaching? How long have you been out of that now?
Yeah, I taught for 40 years American history, 4 at Evergreen and 36 at Napoleon. Now I retired, so this is my 3rd year in retirement, and I still kind of miss it. I loved teaching American history, and it was a great profession. I'd do it all over again.
Yeah, I mean, it sounds great. I mean, as someone who loves American history, I mean, that I would have been like right in your classroom. Like it would have been right up my alley. You talk about your assistant coaches all the time in this conversation. Throughout all the years, you've always given credit to your assistants. Most teams, I feel like, have these huge staffs. You've had this pretty tight-knit group, for however long you've been coaching. What's that like, that sort of tight-knit group, the assistants that you've had? You've had some names, some families, play under you, assist for you for a long time. What's that like, having those guys for you?
I'll tell you, it's incredible. If you go to, when I first started, Scott Leonard was my defense coordinator for, I believe, 18 years. His son, Greg Leonard, is my receiver coach, and I think Greg just finished his 16th year as my receiver coach. And then when Scott retired, Bob George came on, became my defensive coordinator. Bob was D coordinator for 7 years. Bob is still coaching with me right now. 28 years he's been coaching. His son, Luke George, is now coaching with me. You've got also Ben George and Aaron George. A lot of Georges are coaching at PH, and they all played for me. And they're just tremendous assistant coaches. They're passionate about Patrick Henry football. And then you've also got Rich Letter. He's been a line coach with Bob George for me for 27 years. And then his son, Justin Letter, has been kind of one of my right-hand people as far as helping call plays on a Friday night. So we've had some tremendous families at Patrick Henry, either who played. Bob, Rich, and I, the three older guys, we all played chase for Bob Bowerly in the 70s. And then their sons played for us as we coached together. And then now they are assistant coaches on the staff. So it's awesome. And they're passionate about Patrick Henry football. They'll do anything, put any amount of time they have to into it.
Yeah, I mean, it's so cool just to see, because most people, you know, they play and then they move on and they move out, and that's to be expected. But you guys have kind of kept this really tight-knit group for all these years. It's just really cool to see, you know, in a small-town football program like that. You guys, over the years, again, so much success. You got the job in 1991. What's the story there? How did you get it? Was there, so how did you, tell me the story about how you got the head coaching job, I guess.
Well, I owe a lot to John Wilhelm, the late John Wilhelm. And John used to be the head football coach at Holgate and had a tremendous career there. And he was a superintendent, and the job opened up, and I felt, you know, I think I'm ready to be a head coach. And John must have saw something in me, and I interviewed, and he gave me that job. And I owe everything to him for giving me that opportunity, because to be honest with you, I thought I was ready, but as I look back, I don't think I really was ready to get started. But I used that experience of those three different head coaches, and I learned quick, got a good staff around me, and then eventually things just took off.
Yeah, I don't remember off the top of my head what the records were. What were those early years like? What was those first years like? Were you guys dominant right away? Did you struggle? What were the growing pains like? What were those early years like?
There were growing pains.
Yeah.
First of all, in 1990, PH was 0-10. The year before I got there, then I promptly added 7 to that chase. So we had a 17-game losing streak, Patrick Henry. And to be honest with you, through when Bob Bowerly left, I believe it was 1980, Bob left and went to Defiance High School. Patrick Henry kind of fell on hard times. And we were one of the teams that I think people unfortunately looked at in the bottom of the league there for about 10 years. And then it was really neat. My first year, we won our last 3 games. And I'll never forget that locker room chase my first year. After that third straight win, week 10, the kids didn't want to turn their equipment in. And I know that sounds weird because we were only 3-7, but you got to remember those kids had not won their entire junior or sophomore year. And then they went 0-7 to start that next year. And when they won those 3 games, I think that was really important for me and important for the kids to get that confidence, and we built that up. But it didn't happen overnight. I think we went 5-5 my second year, 7-3 my third year. And then here's a story I've told a lot of people over the years that Scott and I, gone into our third year, my defense coordinator, Scott Leonard, we thought, you know what? We think we got a good enough team. We can compete for the league this year. We started out 2-0. Next thing you know, 3 weeks later, we spun around. We had lost our first 3 league games. We were 2-3. And we thought, man, what's it going to take to compete in this league? And we rattled off the last 5 wins, went 7-3. And if you don't recall, in 1993, that is when Wasion with Corey Griggs won the state championship, beat Ironton. Liberty Center, Rex Lindgren, lost in the state championship game in overtime. And Montpelier went to the regional finals that year. That's who we had lost to in 3 consecutive weeks. So we were a good football team. But we found out, man, you got to work hard and you got to be good to compete in this league. And by that point, in 1993, PH had not won a league championship since, as you mentioned, 77. So the years were starting to go by there. But that was an important year, I think, 93. We found out, you know, we're not a bad football team. Maybe we can compete with these guys. And then 1996 and 1997, we had a great group of kids go through back-to-back. And we won the league undefeated in those 2 years. And I look back on it, I really feel the 96 and 97 teams laid the foundation for all those kids you mentioned in the early 2000s, because those kids would have been probably, what, 5th, 6th grade, 3rd, 4th grade, and they'd come to football games, they'd watch those kids play, they'd hear their names being read off. And I think they wanted to become football players at PH. So the 96-97 team, I think, laid the foundation of building blocks.
Do you think there was a moment? I know you said it didn't happen overnight, but was there maybe a time or a story that how you guys kind of went from being, like you said, a 7-3 team to now you're, 96-97 team, you're dominant? Is there sort of a kind of story there?
Well, I think you just got to have good kids, and us coaches came together. But there is a neat story. We went down to the state championship games in 1995, and a lot of coaches would go down, you watch the state championship games, and we went to that game, and there was a team called Bel Air, and John Magestro was the head coach there, and we really loved the style that he was using in his offense. You remember when Hayden Fry had a stand-up tight end at Iowa? Well, John Magestro did that at Bel Air. They threw their backs out of the backfield. They had wide receivers. They were like a college offense in high school. They were kind of ahead of their time, and we thought, you know what, we want to kind of be like that. So I told Robin, my wife, I said, I'm heading down to Bel Air. I'm going to call John Magestro. Bel Air's right across the road from the river from West Virginia. Went down there for a whole weekend, and him and his offense coordinator sat down with me for 2 consecutive days, told me everything they did, showed me all the ins and outs, and then I came back and kind of tied it into our offense and what we wanted to do. And then we just had a great group of kids go through at that time. In 96, 97, we put that new offense in. And to be honest with you, I think maybe we were kind of a newer offense. It's called the West Coast offense. And, San Francisco was known for that at the professional level. And we did a lot of quick passing game, timing patterns. And I think we were kind of something new and fresh. And that, to me, that's my favorite story of my career, how a guy from Southern Ohio just told me everything he knew and gave me that opportunity. And that's why if coaches have ever talked to me over the years and said, hey, can we come meet with you? Absolutely. Because we've learned and gotten ideas from many staffs, and they've gotten them from us. And I really feel that's a big key.
That's such a cool story. And I've heard that story before, the trip down to Bel Air that kind of changed everything for you guys. Yeah. And that's so cool because you don't necessarily hear that even in high school where guys are so secretive and some guys are very open, like, hey, let me tell you everything that we know. So it's just so incredible to think about, those 2 days that kind of changed Patrick Henry football. And then you guys go and you introduce this offense that, like you said, it kind of been new and fresh, and nobody was really kind of doing that in high school. And you guys have a West Coast offense with timing routes and, more passing than probably, NWAL had been used to. So it's just really cool to kind of see how history changed with that visit.
And we were a basketball school, right? Patrick Henry's known for basketball. We got great sports there. And we also thought, man, we got to appeal to these basketball athletes. And we just felt at the time that a double tight wing tee, boom, boom, isn't going to get it. And we had Chris Gherkin. He was 6'3". He was a running back, a 6'3" running back. Brian Heber, tremendous basketball player, won a state championship as a player. Under Dave Krause there at Patrick Henry. He was my quarterback. We had a 6'4". He was a center. Tony Heiser as a wide receiver. So we utilized their talents. I think we got that interest gone, a new style of offense that was fresh.
Yeah, and you guys had some great size too. I mean, most people think like Division 7 schools or Division 6, whatever. They don't have very big guys, but you just listed off all that height. I mean, you guys have basketball players out there, so you could have tight ends. A 6'3" running back at a Division 7 school is like unheard of. That's like Derrick Henry kind of height, and it's just crazy to think about. So you go away in 2013. You decided to hang it up, and then what were those years like? Why hang it up in 2013? What was kind of the story there?
Oh, pressure. Believe it or not, just the constant grind. Maybe I needed to step away from it. And in those 2 years, I found out, I miss it. It's in my blood. I mix the Xing and Oing, the relationship with the players and the assistant coaches. But there's a lot of time and pressure in coaching, And I think maybe that's another reason you don't see as many people staying around as long as you do in coaching anymore.
Yeah, and so you obviously came back in 2016. You had that great year. I think you guys, made it to the state semifinal, state final?
Yeah,
right?
Made it to the Final Four again. Yeah. That was one of the 4 times that we faced, unfortunately, Marion Local.
Yeah.
Right, in Final Four. And then they, every one of the 4 times went on then to win state the next week. So, we had a good team that year.
Yeah, absolutely. And then kind of, the rest is history because you've been there ever since. And it's just been, again, very competitive years. I mean, Liberty Center has obviously come on, with Coach Moeller. But you guys have always been there. You've had some great athletes still. Lincoln Krieger is another one of those guys, basketball player too, who is great. Have you ever had anyone, as talented or go on to a level as high as he has playing in Northwestern in the Big Ten?
That is the first athlete in the Big Ten we've had, is Lincoln Krieger at Northwestern. He was our quarterback and outside linebacker last year. We've had 4 other individuals. So in my 33 years, we've had 5 get a D1 scholarship. Mark Krause, remember, played professional baseball?
Okay, yeah.
Yeah, he was a wide receiver for us. Again, 6 foot, you don't get many 6'3" wide receivers. He at least got offered at Bowling Green, chose then to play professional baseball. We had Cody Pettit go to Central Michigan.
Okay.
Colt Pettit went big time, Virginia Tech.
Okay.
And then Garrett Sweebert played at Toledo.
Okay.
Big lineman for Toledo here, just last 4 years here. So.
Gotcha. Yeah.
So.
What was it like having him the last few years? I know I covered you guys. You made it down to the regional final or semifinal a couple of years ago. So what was that like, kind of having him as your quarterback and linebacker?
With Lincoln Krieger?
Yeah. Lincoln.
I'll tell you. He makes plays out of nothing if it's not worked right. So you design plays, and Lincoln had that ability and that athleticism to make something out of nothing. And anytime you have a dual threat quarterback, it's a lot easier to design an offense. You can have him throw. Obviously, you can have him be a running threat. We started doing quarterback draws with him. So, yeah, Lincoln, it's just like anything. If you have great athletes, it makes it easier to coach. And Lincoln was a tremendous athlete, made it easy to coach.
Absolutely. You got inducted, I think, into the Ohio High School Football Coaches Association Hall of Fame in the summer. What was that like, being inducted?
Well, actually, this past summer I got chose to be in it.
Okay.
You're right. And then this coming summer will be the induction.
Yeah, okay.
Very humbling.
Yeah.
Very humbling indeed. It's looking forward to that. It's not something you think about, right? You don't go into coaching think you do that. Because Chase, after my first 7 games, I was 0-7. I thought they'd fire me my first year, right? And after my first 5 years, I was 24-26, losing record. So it's one of those things, I guess, that anybody in their profession and their job, when you spend time and take a deep breath in your older years and look back, you say, that's really a neat honor. It's nothing you really were shooting for. That wasn't your goal, but it's just something you're very proud of and very humbling.
Yeah, and when you look back on this career, and I don't know how long you're planning to go, I don't know if you're planning to hang it up anytime soon, but when you look back on the totality of your career, what do you think about? Is it the state championship in 2005? Is it all the years of league championships? What do you think about when you think about the career?
Well, as far as accomplishments, the state championship, there's nothing like it. It's an incredible feeling. Your Final Fours are great feelings. But looking back on it, what you remember the most are your relationships, right? Going out in public or getting invited to weddings 5, 6, 8 years after they graduated. So it's relationships you develop with those players and your assistant coaches. That's the greatest feeling of all. Outside of the accomplishments of that fleeting moment, right, when you win a big game. But it's relationships. That's the most important thing.
Absolutely. And no matter what happens, over the next few years, I think you've cemented your legacy as one of the great football coaches in Northwest Ohio, certainly, and the state of Ohio. So, Bill, thank you so much for coming on and doing this. I appreciate it so much.
Thank you very much, Chase.
Absolutely. Great.
It's an honor.
Thank you so much. Great conversation. All right, that's going to do it for this episode of Chasing the Game. Be sure to check out all of our other episodes on the WTOL 11 Plus app, which you can download for free on Roku TV, Apple TV, or Amazon Fire TV. You can also watch and listen to all of our episodes on YouTube and on Spotify. We'll see you guys next time.